With very, very rare exceptions, we do not do obituaries on this show, and we are not going to do one here tonight. And one of the ways you can tell that what I'm about to do is not an obituary for the head of the Westboro Baptist Church in Kansas who died this week, one of the ways you can tell it's not an obituary is that there is nothing about this story that will require me to say his name, so I'm not going to say it. But the Westboro Baptist Church became an object of national fascination and revulsion when the man who was basically the cult leader for this extended family pseudo-religious compound in Kansas decided in about 1991 that the way he should spread his particular version of the gospel was by trying very hard to upset people, by trolling the country, essentially. They first showed up with their big, taunting, cursing, profane signs at the funerals of people who had died of AIDS. They also picketed the funerals of anyone gay who had died for any reason, including picketing the funerals of people who had been murdered for being gay. And their message was very simple. They just hated gay people. They cited biblical justification for hating gay people. They wished all gay people were dead. They thought anybody who didn't hate gay people as much as they did were essentially aiding and abetting the terrible moral crime of homosexuality and was equally damnable because of it. And that reasoning inside the fevered cult mindset led inexorably to the strategy that made the Westboro cult famous outside of just the gay community. In their quest to both demonstrate their own depth of hatred for gay people and to try to make the whole country that way, they started trolling the whole country, not just the gay community. Their public demonstration strategy moved on from directly going after gay people to picketing funerals and picketing other events that celebrated anyone who was a beloved American. They picketed the funeral of Bill Clinton's mother. They picketed the funeral of Al Gore's dad. They picketed the funeral of coal miners killed in a mining accident. They picketed the funeral of Jerry Falwell because Jerry freaking Falwell was not anti-gay enough for them. In their cult logic, there is nothing to celebrate about America as a nation, as long as America tolerates the existence of openly gay people. That's why they started targeting the funerals of soldiers, to say that there's no such thing as an American hero as long as America is a place that doesn't stone gay people to death. They said, thank God for the IEDs that kill American soldiers. We pray for more American soldiers to die, since that is God's way of showing his disapproval of a country that doesn't hate gay people enough. That has been their reasoning all along, for years. And now that the founder of the cult, who not incidentally is also the biological father of a lot of people in the cult, now that he has died, it will be interesting to see if his 13 children and 54 grandchildren and his growing covey of great-grandchildren evolve in their strategy too, or whether the Westboro Baptist Church cult is going to wither away. And you know what? Honestly, on one level, who cares? It's like caring about whether or not WorldNet Daily is going to do another Where's the Birth Certificate book, or whether Glenn Beck is going to tell people that he's found more signs of the Antichrist in Wisconsin, or whether or not Donald Trump really means it this time when he says he's going to run for president. Who cares, right? Who cares? Make money however you want to make money. Make a ruckus. We're a free freaking country, free enough for all of you. But there is something important, I think, and worth noting tonight about the Westboro cult now that its founder has died. And that is that the Westboro cult has, over these past 20 years, been an American inspiration. Seriously, as they have tried to hurt people's feelings, to demonstrate their own depth of piety and their own depth of feeling by their willingness to willfully hurt even the grieving families of the dead at the funerals of their loved ones, they know that they're being offensive, right? That's on purpose. They want to shock casually anti-gay religious people in this country into hardening their beliefs. Stop being such squishes, right? Stop tolerating an American culture that lets gay people live and that recognizes their rights. That's what they were trying to do. But instead, increasingly, over the years, people rose up against them to try to stop or at least interfere with the hurt that they were trying to cause in order to demonstrate their point. I think it probably started with the angel's wings folks, the people who built those huge architectural angel's wings for themselves, hung with white sheets, to protect the family of Matthew Shepard when the Westboro cult picketed his funeral in 1998. The wings just blocked the view of those protesters. When the Westboro people started picketing soldiers' funerals, the Patriot Guard on motorcycles formed a loud, massive, flag-carrying human buffer between the Westboro people and the military funeral procession and the family. It's also occasionally been a one-on-one thing, and occasionally a very funny one-on-one thing. There's the God hates signs rebuttal, which I've always thought is very effective. This guy, I too have a sign. I find him adorable. God hates signs, also mourn for our signs. Here's a variant of that idea. God hates plastic bags. This one turns up a lot. God hates figs. Also, God hates yeast, and there's biblical citations on the signs. God hates figs is a pretty popular one, and it is true. That part of the Gospel of Mark, I looked it up today, it is really anti-fig. Mark 11, Jesus is adamantly anti-figs. There's also plenty of biblical justification for these Westboro counter-protesters. God hates shrimp. God hates cotton poly blends. I'm not sure what's going on with the pirate in the foreground here, but I bet I'm for it. This is the man himself, the head of the cult who died this week. There have been lots of counter-protesters like these guys on either side of him who have made this particular point about the Westboro people. Or they've basically just used Westboro anti-gay signs as if their words are more like prefixes rather than whole words. Homosex is sensational. Or this guy who looks so happy. Look how happy he looks. Homosex is great. Their ubiquitous God hates fags message has been rebutted by a dog who feels exactly the opposite, and also apparently by God himself, who begs to differ with the Westboro cult. The Westboro cult, despite itself, has been an inspiration to Americans all over the country wherever they've shown up. It's weird to say, but they have indirectly caused a lot of good works out of our own human revulsion at their cruelty. When college football star Michael Sam came out and the Westboro people came to the University of Missouri to protest his existence, thousands of college students turned out in the cold and the snow to make a human wall to wall off the protesters from the man who they were trying to hurt. This is not an obituary for the head of the Westboro Baptist Church. He is gone now, dead at the age of 84. Incidentally, there's not going to be a funeral for him. But let him be remembered as someone who, despite himself, actually did bring out the best in people, who provided a singular, cacophonous vision of cruelty that ended up being a very, very clarifying thing for all of us. That does it for us tonight. We will see you again tomorrow night. Now it's time for the last word. Have a great night.